Welcome to another Crafting with Roswell. Today we'll be tackling a book stack project. In your kit you received 3 paperback books, 3 sheets of cardstock, a piece of ribbon, your vinyl decals, and contact paper. I've gone ahead and cut apart my words from my vinyl decal sheet in order to make it easier to work with. I recommend having a hot glue gun or another type of glue would work, a pencil and scissors. A suggested extra would be a bone folder to help when you're creasing your cardstock, or a different ribbon if this one doesn't appeal to you. So the first step in this project is removing the covers off of our paperbacks. Some you will see will remove more cleanly. Others you may find you still have this white edge left behind. Both will work. Some covers have like an embossing raised effect, so my preference is just to remove the cover and replace it completely by using the cardstock as our covering surface. Give us a nice white even color. You could also use different colored cardstock if you preferred. So think blues, whites, greens, reds, any of those would work. I'm just using white to achieve a crisp, clean look, such as this. So this book has already been finished. So I've already cut the cardstock down to size and applied the first decal with the word Mary. So now I'm going to show you the steps for the other 2. So in order to fit your cardstock to your book, it's pretty simple. And this is in lieu of painting. This is in lieu of using wood blocks, which can be a little pricier. So I'm just using paperbacks left over from our book sale. So unfortunately, these did not find a new home during the sale. And so they're getting a new life as our book stack project. So what I like to do is just put my piece of cardstock down horizontally, set my book on the right side, gently lift up on the left side, and fold over my book. On this edge, with your fingers, you'll kind of feel where the spine of the book is, and I just give that a nice little quick crease. Then I take my book out, and I take this cardstock and match along where it's creased perfectly straight across. So I find trying to actually match this crease while it's on the book can give me an uneven or less sharp crease. So my preference is to make that little bit of a crease, remove it from the book, and then just fold the sheet so it's straight across. Using the bone folder, you can use the tip of your finger. If you're using nails with polish on it, I recommend using just your fingertips. If you use your fingernail itself, you might transfer the color of your nail polish to your paper. So there's our first crease. So I'm going to take my paperback, put it back inside, and now flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. So I'm tightly covering the book with this cardstock. So I'm making another pinch on this side, finding where my spine is. Again, pulling my book out and then folding straight across at that crease mark. So now when I put my book back inside, I now have this super clean, crisp cornered edge to be face out with the vinyl decals. So next up is trimming this cardstock to fit the book. I recommend adding hot glue to the spine of your book. So I'm just going to do a little zigzag pattern, and you're going to want to do this relatively quickly. That way your hot glue does not set up. You want that still ready to go, and then place it in the center of your folded cardstock, and then just run your finger along the spine. And be careful, depending on how hot your hot glue is, you're going to feel the heat through the paper against your book. So now my outer cover is lightly connected to my book. So this allows me to hold up one end and use a pencil to trace around in order to help me cut out a shape matching my book from my cardstock. The other method is to just use your scissors and trim in close. I find having pencil marks helps me a bit, but either way works. So now all I'm going to do is kind of flip my page over. So the book's on one side. Here are my lines from tracing around, and I'm just going to trim away this excess cardstock. And if you don't cut exactly right, you can always take your scissors along the book after the fact and trim away anything that might stick out a little further than you wanted to. It's better to have a little extra sticking out than to cut it too short and then not have enough to cover over your book. So once I get to my spine, I can just cut away these pieces. And then once I'm at my spine, I can go ahead and cut straight across. Turn it around, cut in at the corner, and you can cut that straight away too. So now I have the front and the spine covered. Now it's on to the back. And with all of that already cut away, tracing and cutting around the back becomes even easier. Just tracing along each side. To have my guidelines to then do some more cutting away. So top's done. Come in, since all the other sides are done, I'm just going to come in close with my scissors and cut along the bottom. Here's a little lip that's overhanging. I'm just going to come in and trim that away. So now I'm just going to go ahead and add a little glue on this back cover. I'm just doing a nice even squirt across, push down. Remember, this can be hot against your hands. The paper is not an extreme buffer against the heat of your hot glue gun, so be very careful. I'm going to flip it over, add a little glue on this side. And once again, push down, press to adhere. And so really quick, just to show you, pre-cut this piece. I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. So I'm going to go ahead, add some glue to the spine of my book. And since I've already cut this one perfectly to size, carefully place that in. You can even rub that edge on your counter like that. I'm going to go ahead, add some glue to the front. And add some glue to the back. And there's my next book. So now that I have my 3 books, you can kind of decide which order you want them to be in. So that looks pretty good to me. And so I've already done my first word. So I'm going to show you my tips for adding your second and third. So I prefer with my book stack to have my words right aligned along the right side. So my Y, my D, and my T will kind of line up over each other on this end. You could decide that you want to have them on the left side. You could decide that you want to put your words up the middle. I recommend sticking to either side to allow for your ribbon. So as a preview, there's one word. I'll be adding my ribbon. And so adding and bright and wrapping with this ribbon to hold them all together. So let's see if they'll stay. I'm going to grab my contact paper and my word and. So I'm not worried about the corners of my contact paper. So I really go at it with a fierce corner fold to help me pull this away from the backing. Put it on my word, push down. And since this is so small, you can even give it just a gentle squeeze between your fingers. We're just trying to transfer those letters to the contact tape. So in one move, we can apply it all to our book. Another option, if you'd like a more haphazard, random placement, is to just take each individual letter and place it on the spine of your book. If you're looking for a more even placement in terms of all the letters being lined up and spaced exactly the same, then I recommend using the contact tape. You can just peel it backwards, pulling this sticker backing away from you, and so your letters are on your vinyl. So now that my first book is done, it's really a matter of wherever you want to place the first one and just kind of having it even on your spine. When it comes to your second word, I recommend using your first word for guidance. So if you want it in the middle, you're kind of looking to center it between that M and Y spacing. If you want it on the end, we're kind of going with where the edge of that Y ends. And before I push down, I'm also making sure I've got about even space above and below my word. So you're looking at both before you use one finger to help push it in place. This is permanent vinyl, so as soon as you start to press that down on the book, there's no taking it back off without ripping your cardstock or destroying your vinyl decal. So there's Mary Ann. And now we're ready for Bright. So again, I'm just pushing that down with my finger, squeezing it on there, peeling backwards. So there's my contact paper. Here's the paper backing. You can just use your fingernails if you have any. You can even use a pencil to just help push those letter pieces onto your contact tape. And if you do a nice tight roll backward towards you, you're going to help force those letters onto that contact tape. And be careful with the little I, that little dot. If you pull and it's not coming, just move your sticker backing back up. Give it another push, help pop that little letter off. And done. All right, so now we have Mary, we have and, now we need Bright. So I'm still gripping on the outside of the books, leaving one finger free to help me position this in just the right spot. So when it is in the right place, this finger can help push it down on my book. So gently peel it up a little more. So So I'm lining it kind of in the middle of the spine and keeping an eye on my words above. This can be a little tricky, so I recommend holding the edge of your contact tape. Doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm just trying to make it as pleasing to my eye as possible. And I'm calling it a day, sticking it there, rubbing my finger over it to get that nice and secured, and then peeling away my contact tape. And now we are merry and bright. So next up is our ribbon. So what I like to do is, here's my stack. This ribbon is nice in that it has wire edging, so it's going to fold nicely and crisply against your books. So what I like to do is just lay my ribbon down, kind of line up my books. You can glue your books together if you would like to. Just put a little glue evenly in between to keep them all connected. I like keeping them loose. So I'm just going to take them and flip them upside down. So my top book is now on the bottom. My ribbon is flat on my surface, and I am just going to fold it over my edges. And this way. So there's a little extra ribbon back here. All I'm going to do is just give this a little trim. Your regular scissors will snip through even though it is wired. And instead of gluing my ribbon to my books, I'm just going to hold it tightly and put a little glue on the ribbon to hold this overlapping ribbon together. So that's nice and tight without impacting my books. Nothing's bowing around. You have a nice stripe ribbon all around. So I'm going to go ahead and add just a little glue. Hope that's enough to hold my ribbon together. Go ahead, flip it over. I've got that looseness going since I didn't actually attach it, so I can kind of change the placement of the ribbon if I want to. And there is my finished book stack. If you'd like to see this in person, it will soon be on the edge of my desk located on the lower level of the library. If you have any questions, please drop them in the comments on Facebook, on YouTube, or reach out to me at the library, and I'd be happy to help. But I hope you enjoy your merry and bright project. I'll be back again next week with a completely virtual program. We will have a pre-recorded video about our Shrinky Dink kits. So tune in next week and have a great holiday, everyone.